afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Got my good buddy for many years, Doug Jones, who hails out of Atlanta, Georgia. We both met as young pups here in the IT field, and we've always stayed in touch. I'm happy to have him here. We're going to talk a lot about entrepreneurship, building wealth one business at a time. And so Doug he's been doing this thing all these years. And so, Doug, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of let us know kind of what just kind of initial stages of what your journey's been like.
Okay. I'm glad to be here with you today, man. This is exciting for me. It has been a long time, over 30 years, I want to say, that
Right.
we've known each other. And kind of my journey, we're both Air Force brats. I went to Howard. I actually met you on a contract that I had with the Air Force. And I stayed in software for 30 years,
Wow.
years, and just got out of software in 2018. And at that particular point, decided to, I've always been a real estate investor while I was in the corporate environment. So I jumped off full-time real estate investment, started doing development work, so started building homes, and started looking at other businesses to augment my cash flow from the building development of homes. So we added a tax franchise to that, and so that was the third business. So real estate.
But wait, hold on, Doug. So let's go back to the beginning, because your entrepreneur roots didn't start with the tax and the real estate.
No.
From what I remember, you were trying to get when I first met you. Back in, I want to say, the 80s, you were attempting to own a Domino's pizza franchise. Am I right?
That is correct. You remember that. Yes, you remember that. I'm not going to tell your secret. But yes, I was trying to get a Domino's franchise at the time. And hey, listen, lesson number one, never quit. I'd be done now. I had 5 rental properties and a Domino's pizza franchise right off Landover Road.
And you were still in your 20s.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, 22, 23, right? And just married too. I'm married at 24. So yeah, I was definitely had that entrepreneurial vibe pretty much my whole life, man, my whole life.
Absolutely. I remember, so we both were in IT field, computer programmers, but I do remember us in our 20s talking a lot about real estate at that time.
Yes.
And we were both trying to get into real estate, and so I think it's important to, like, I had you had me to kind of bounce ideas off of. We were working at Andrews Air Force Base doing the IT thing, but we would always talk about entrepreneurship and real estate. I remember you had bought a property over in Fort Lincoln.
That's right.
And I followed you. I don't know if you remember this, but I followed you and bought a property right across the street.
I remember that now. I remember you did. In fact, I think I was the sales rep on that one, right?
You did. Yeah. You had your real estate license.
I did.
You sold me the house. I fixed it up and rented it out to a voucher holder. I remember that.
Right.
And then maybe a year or so later, I kind of followed you and got my real estate license. That's how long ago it was.
Right.
I didn't even have my real estate license at that time.
Right. And so when we moved to Atlanta, I decided at that particular point that I was going to sell everything and move down. We had our daughter, so family decisions that you had to make. But man, I wish I'd have held on to some of that real estate now, because it is worth millions of dollars. I think I told you while we were getting ready for this that I had a place at 1339 Irving Street.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, one of my first places right there in the heart of DC now, man. It's a lot different today than it was back then, let me just say.
Yeah, because that area, 14th Street, was at least close to what I would call the red light district.
Right.
Right on 14th Street back then. Now it's Columbia Heights, it's commercial. You probably haven't even well, you've been back and forth because of your son going to Howard, but
Yeah.
they've got a lot of restaurants and shopping and all that right there on 14th Street. And the row houses are selling like 1.3, 1.4 million.
Yes.
And what you remember what you bought the house for?
$139,000.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
I mean, that was crazy. And I thought at the time that you could not, again, another lesson, I thought at the time that you could not manage effectively a place from Atlanta that was in
absentee owner. Yeah.
Absentee.
You can. Property manager, all that.
Property manager to do that today, right? If I knew back then what I know now, hired a property manager and away we'd go. Refinance some money out of it.
Absolutely. So one lesson I teach my students is when you buy real estate, hold on to it forever.
Yeah.
And to your point, whenever you want, you can do a cash out refinance and pull cash out.
Right.
And so when you pull the cash out, and you could have done that over the last 20, 30 years.
Right.
As the market goes up, you could pull cash out. And when you pull the cash out, it's not a taxable event. So it's tax-free money to you because it's your equity.
Yeah.
Or just or get lines of credit against the equity and leave the equity in there. So there's lots of options. So one lesson you guys listening now or will listen in the future, when you buy real estate, I own a portfolio of real estate. I'm holding on to it forever. But it's almost like a life insurance policy that has living benefits. That house has living benefits. You just have to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And so my daughter will inherit all this stuff, but I'm going to use the equity in different ways from time to time over the years for my own personal use.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you got into, so we both got into real estate. You sold everything, moved to Atlanta, started kept the 9 to 5, always had a really good job. Tell us a little bit about that, what you were doing full time, and then kind of what led you to kind of quit what you were doing to now become a full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah. So my expertise, I changed from when I was in DC. When I moved to Atlanta, I worked for a company called Lotus Development that was eventually bought by IBM. But most people who are a little older will remember 1, 2, 3. So I started going to software companies and creating partnership relationships for them. So I became vice president of partnerships at Lotus Development and several other companies after that. And really what that was about helped give me a skill set to create win-win relationships in the market for these software companies that would drive billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars for those companies. So I really focused in on that, developing that expertise, and it really allowed me to travel the world, man. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed my career in software at that particular point. Again, traveling and creating these relationships on a global scale that would allow software companies to do multiples of their revenue through partner relationships that my team was actually responsible for.
You were actually, I think, the move to Atlanta was it before or after you actually lived in South Africa?
It was before I lived in South Africa. So yeah, it was before I lived in South Africa. So we moved down for the Olympic Games, right before the Olympic Games, 92, 93. And then my wife had worked for the Olympics, and she had an opportunity to go and help South Africa bid for the 2000 Olympic Games, and ultimately, I believe, went to Greece. And so that was a wonderful experience too. But that was the impetus that allowed me to start doing these partnership relationships, because I was taking products that were, again, very entrepreneurial, right? It was taking products and services out of South Africa and moving them in and out, import, export. And I was doing that actually on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of led you in the last couple of years to say, I'm kind of fed up with this 9 to 5 stuff, even though I'm making good money, to now want to be an entrepreneur full time?
Do we want the
We want the truth.
do we want the easy story, or do we want the real deal story? I think when you're at a director level in corporate environment and you're non-threatening and you're actually creating these relationships that make people money, people leave you alone. I think when you become an executive after it's up and running, and I think specifically for Black executives, I think it becomes a completely different environment for you. And I held out for 8 years, and by the 9th year, I think I was just tired of it. I was tired of trying to prove my value to these organizations who now have these partnerships that they didn't have before, that are generating millions of dollars, that were moving towards hundreds of millions of dollars. But when they get into the hundreds of millions, they forget how it all began, right? Somehow that got lost. So I decided that it was time for me to kind of move in a direction that I've always wanted to move in. It was uh, second nature for me to come on out, to get my real estate license again. That was the start of it, and start developing, and start doing business development and buying land, raw land in Atlanta, and building homes.
And so kind of tell us where you are now, kind of as an overview. So you're a real estate entrepreneur. You got your real estate license,
Yeah.
To sell real estate. You're also a real estate investor.
Yes.
And then tell us about some of the other streams of income.
Yeah. So I'm a partner in Redding and Jones. My buddy that I played football with there at Howard University and we both came out of corporate America at the same time. And our first exploration was into the real estate side. And you have to be in real estate here 3 years before you can have your brokerage license. So
Right.
we did our 3 year time. And during that time, we also bought a franchise, a Liberty Tax franchise. So we have a tax business, um, building wealth one business at a time. The tax business, we have a real estate business that still does development, little less on the development, looking more now at an investor portfolio, building our investment portfolio, of which I do have rental properties, but not as a part of Redding and Jones. So we're trying to bring that into Redding and Jones. And then we've just, as you know, added insurance, life and health insurance to our portfolio of financial services, because we see this need in our community for these financial services. As we go through people's taxes, we know all of their financial information, all of their assets, what they have from a financial perspective, and we see these needs that they constantly have. People don't have health insurance. People haven't even thought about life insurance. Mortgages is another area that we would like to pursue as a kind of plan C for probably 2023, 2022, 23. So we just want to continue to add multiple financial services that we bring to our tax clients primarily.
And so that's kind of where I am. I've been in the real estate space for many years, first as an investor, then as an agent, and then as a broker, and have built a pretty big real estate brokerage here in what we call the DMV, the Washington, D.C. area. Just opened up another office in the Baltimore area. And I just added another stream of income for my real estate agents, and that of financial services that we're all excited about. A lot of my real estate agents already had insurance license, both life and health. And I primarily did it for them to have another stream of income. But more importantly, as I studied it, and I've studied the industry for a number of years now, there is a lack of insurance in our community. We're underinsured.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons. One reason is that a lot of African Americans simply think that insurance is too expensive, and it's really not.
Right.
And they also think that insurance, especially life insurance, is something that's just for burial, but it's really not. It's something that's it's a vehicle to protect your wealth, but not only that, to grow your wealth. You and I just came off a webinar a couple hours before this.
Yeah.
Where it talked about reverse mortgages and using your house also as a vehicle for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
That will pay you, reverse mortgages that will actually pay you in retirement.
Right.
And so there's lots of different ways that we can grow ourselves, grow our community through financial services. And so it's people like you and I and my agents, my new insurance agents that just have to go and spread the gospel. Because unfortunately, only 4% of all insurance agents, only 4% are people of color, which means the word is not getting out in our community to help build wealth. Right. And we think that a GoFundMe page is the way to bury each other instead of life insurance.
Right. And I think the biggest thing that we bring to the table is that you can build wealth, but it's the way you do it that matters. And we can do it. Again, I talked about win-win partnerships. We can do it in a way that it works for our people, right? So you could look at businesses in our community. Most of them are there. Most, I hate to be harsh, but I think this is true. Most of them are loan businesses that are trying to take advantage of our people. Even tax businesses has a very seedy side to it, right? And it's trying to take advantage of our people. And our motto at Redding and Jones is do no harm, right? We're not trying to bring you a loan where you're going to charge 50, 60%. Even though I know you can take it, it's not a good deal for you. So we want to try and build quality relationships, delivering quality service in our community. And in return for that, we will build our own wealth. We believe we can do it that way.
And I think that's important because oftentimes African-American businesses kind of get a bad rap, that we're unprofessional, we don't deliver the services. Because of that, other African Americans really don't give you a chance. We don't support each other.
Right.
And so, we have to dispel those myths and give really good business, but then we have to give each other a chance. And we don't often do that. And so that's one thing that we definitely have to do. As we talk about building wealth, one business at a time, when I say that, and you came up with the topic, what really kind of resonates with you as it relates to African Americans kind of really building wealth? Why is building businesses so important?
Well, I think that, it's kind of funny. We talk about things like gentrification and these other things that tend to happen to us within our economy, within a capitalism itself. And one of the areas that we just talked about that we're not really present in insurance, we're not really present in terms of wealth and distribution of wealth. We're on the bottom end of that spectrum. And now people like you and I and others, many, many others, have experience and exposure to these other side, right? What else is out there? And so for us, I think it's kind of incumbent, at least for me, my mission is to try and bring business to stuff that we own, right? We're very good consumers. We're not very good on the ownership side of it. They're way out of balance. So when you're talking about bringing services to our community, a lot of times we don't even own those services that are in our community. So now I think it's a paradigm shift that we have to come to terms with, where entrepreneurs, people who've been exposed to business, corporate environments, and others that are now coming out of those environments to build businesses that serve our communities, that do an excellent job. We've seen the paradigms that work. We know the models that work in our community, and that we can bring those to our community from an ownership perspective. So, and it doesn't have to be that you do just real estate. Now you got to hump. You got to want to work.
You gotta work.
You got to want to work. You have to put in the work. You and I were talking at 10 o'clock last night, right? And the day begins 7 in the morning. So you have to work at it. But I think the rewards are much greater. And we have to start owning stuff in our community. We have to start owning.
So that honestly, that's the only way to build wealth. You're not going to build wealth working 9 to 5. You're just not going to do it. The wealthy have businesses and have multiple streams of income, not just one stream, not just two streams, but 3, 4, and 5. You know, when I think of someone wealthy, they've got multiple streams of income.
True.
And it's not to say to go out and quit your job. We're not saying that. But what I'm saying is pick up something that you can do even part-time as an entrepreneur. You're not going to build wealth. The only way to build wealth is to sell something. You've got to sell something. Right. Because when you sell something, the sky's the limit. The more you sell, the more money you're going to make. When you work 9 to 5, you're on a salary. You might get bonuses, but if you're on a salary making $125,000 a year, in January, you know by December, no matter how hard you work, you're going to make $125,000. Now, you may or may not get a raise. You may or may not get a bonus. But for my real estate agents, for an example, it just depends on how hard they work, how much they market themselves, leverage themselves over hiring other people to help them. You know, they may start off the year as a goal of making 125, but they may end up making 250. I've got one agent now who already this year has made over 400,000. Sky's the limit, but you got to sell. And then oftentimes there's businesses where you can sell part-time, you can sell from home. Being an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you have to have brick and mortar. You can work from home, and you can work from home part-time.
Very true.
And so one thing that I'm marketing for my financial services is working from home. Because there's a lot of services that you can sell from home and really make a great living that has residual income, you know, the renewals, overrides, things like that.
Very excited about that. Very excited about what that potential can bring to the table, for sure.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to exploit it. I can't wait to, you know, we're making steps every single day, but I want to take this nationwide into urban cities, and to not only educate and build teams of people to sell financial services, but provide those services. And so, you know, I want to have rallies and boot camps and things like that in the community, right, to really teach these services. Like the webinar you and I was on this morning, not a lot of people hear about that information, even for me. And, you know, I've been around reverse mortgages my whole career. But I never heard of that type of reverse mortgage that's going to help you, you know, which is actually going to provide a living benefit for you, and you're not paying a mortgage payment.
Right.
And so it's getting that kind of information out, and what life insurance products like IULs, Index Universal Life Policies, can do for you in retirement, annuities, things like that. So as we talk about building these streams, and you've got a number of streams of income, what are some of the challenges that you see or you face on a day-to-day basis in terms of challenges, in terms of kind of growing your business, scaling your business?
Yeah. So you talked about one when you're saying we make progress every day. A lot of times being able to prioritize and determine what you're going to do on a daily basis. First of all, once you build a business, you got to ensure that that business keeps and maintains the quality of the services that you build. Even as you go out, it may take some of your attention to build the second line of business. So for me, maintaining quality in businesses that we develop is, so my tax business should be the same as my real estate business, should be the same as my insurance business, right? So you have to have a quality across the board that you deliver. And that for me is one of the biggest things, because I don't want to be known as another black business that's unprofessional, that doesn't know what they're talking about, that has gotten somebody in trouble, right? One of the worst days I have is when I get one of my clients comes back with a letter from the IRS that, we've done something, that we've missed something, right? And when you do over 600-700 returns, it's bound to happen.
Right.
But it's just something that you have to deal with, right? So quality of service is very important for me. Cash flow. I don't go out. All businesses are another model for us is everything we do should make money. I'm not out here spending hundreds of thousands of dollars waiting on the come. I'm actually investing, but I'm actually believing that I'm going to get that money out of that business really quickly. So I'm gonna break even in a 2-3 year window on these businesses that I'm starting out on. That might change a little later as you mature and grow, but right now I'm not trying to spend a lot of money out there. Some of these businesses, actually most of the businesses that we've talked about, very little investment required other than your sweat equity. So though, but cash flow becomes a big issue for you as you kind of grow. So those two things: quality of service, cash flow, and then getting quality people, right?
That's the only way you're going to grow. You're only as strong as your employees.
Yeah.
And so you wanna recruit talent.
Right. So having quality people in our organization is probably maybe number one, but it because it's tied to the service that we talked about earlier. So yeah, quality people are really key, and you have to have a value proposition for those folks. So what are you doing to train them? What is it that they want to do that you're tying into, that you're connected together so that they bring quality to the table on your behalf, not just coming because they need a place to work,
right,
but coming because they have a purpose, a mission that they want to try to achieve, and you can help them achieve that.
Yeah, the value proposition for your employees first, because you have to create, really good environment for them to work and want to come to work. But then you also have to create a value proposition for your targeted audience in any business. You just can't, put up a shingle and say I'm in business, because there's lots of tax businesses. There's lots of real estate brokerages, financial services. There's lots of companies that do that. What is your niche, or what is what I call your distinctive competence? What sets you apart from your competition? And you've got to understand what that is. And so when I went from being a real estate agent to a real estate broker and owning my own company, I had to decide, like, who am I? And what sets me apart? What's my distinctive competence? And my competence was real estate investing. And so I used that to recruit agents. Hey, you come to my brokerage, I'll teach you how to build wealth through real estate investing.
Right.
And so I would teach, minimum of every month. And then I eventually evolved into a coaching program, which evolved into a national coaching program. But that was my distinctive competence. And you've got to have that for everything that you do. And then when you have that, you've got to get the message out to everybody and let them know. And you can't be afraid of it. I tell my agents, my real estate agents, all the time, you can't be a secret agent. If you want to be a secret agent, go work for the CIA or the FBI. Here, you got to let everybody know that this is what you do.
Right.
But because of that, we've been able to grow, and we're different. When someone meets with us, meets with my recruiter, she's able to say, this is what everybody else does, and they're wonderful, but this is what we do, and this is what sets us apart.
Yeah, and that resonates with me. I told you, you're going to teach me how to do that, because that resonates. I've been an investor for a long time, much longer than I've been a real estate agent, much longer, 10 times longer. And I love that approach, because it does very much distinguish you from everybody else, and it helps solve the mission too, right? You're building wealth, you're giving them revenue opportunities, and you're doing what was part of your core competency, right?
You already know the information.
Yeah, yeah,
You teach it.
yeah, exactly.
But here's the byproduct of all of that. And you don't do it for this,
Mhm.
but the byproduct of all of that is now you've got all these deals coming your way.
Right,
So you teach them how to go out and find deals, and you also teach them how to wholesale.
right,
And now they're just wholesaling to you.
right.
Now you don't do it for that reason, but that is a byproduct of teaching your agents and teaching other investors how to invest.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that now they're bringing you deals.
right.
It just makes it all worth it for you.
Yeah, but it's the same reciprocity in any business that you bring to the table, right? It's a win-win. It's a partnership.
It has to be.
It's a partnership. It's a win-win. You're bringing value to them. You're teaching them how to build wealth, how to acquire properties, and you should be compensated for that.
Right.
And that is how it works. That's how business should work, especially amongst us.
And then along with all of that, you have to understand, like I have multiple streams of income. I have multiple businesses. You do too. And so I think the question always has to be, and I ask myself the question, why am I doing this? What's my why? What's my big why? And without the big why, it's hard getting up every morning. It's hard doing it. It's hard, trying to overcome the challenges, the naysayers, all that. You've got to have a big why. So I'll ask you first. What is your why? What is your big why? Why are you doing what you do?
Yeah, it's real easy for me, man. It's about our people. It's about our community. It's about bringing people to the table, giving them knowledge that I've been exposed to that can allow them to live a better life, a more prosperous life, to start thinking about how I build generational wealth. We have to start doing that. I believe it. I believe in it. And, nothing better than when somebody comes to my office and they don't have health insurance or they are in a tax bind just because of a lack of knowledge.
Right.
And the person walks out of my office and they're actually receiving a $5,000 refund, right? And they thought they owed. And it's, again, and you can go anywhere and get it done, but are you going to get it done right? Are you going to have the knowledge and expertise? And when you help somebody in that kind of way, when you give a person who hasn't been able to find their way in life, younger person, millennials are what we're dealing with nowadays, and you kind of get that person on a path that leads them towards their own purpose and they're happy and content with what they're doing. That to me is worth it. That's my big why every day. And that's why, man, there's so many people that don't have health care, so many people that don't have life insurance. That's ridiculous. And I did not know that because I rolled in different circles. Right? I did. But when you start to actually spend time in our communities on a day-to-day basis, you start to see all of these ways that people are just missing out on things that are available to them. And it keeps growing. The last thing I'll say about the PPP loans, right? We had all these beauty parlor, barbershops, didn't even know that was available to them. So it was just a service that we bought to them. And some of those guys walked out with $10,000, $12,000, $20,000 that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So it is about exposing folks to the different options in our community.
Yeah, I think the PPP loan, what that told me was how America looks at businesses. Whether it's a multi-level marketing business, whether it's big business, whether it's a part-time business, it just told me how America or the government looks at businesses as opposed to individuals.
Yeah.
And kind of the dichotomy between the two.
Yeah.
And what it told me was, if you have a business, we will give you a whole lot of money versus if you're just an individual.
Unemployment. There's unemployment for individuals.
There was unemployment.
Right.
If you have a business, we're going to give you thousands of dollars that you don't even have to pay back if you are a business.
Right.
And which tells me, and there's really no right or wrong, but what it tells me is I got to own a business. I got to teach people to have a business, and you guys have to have a business. Whether it's, I love the multi-level marketing, network marketing model because it's something that you can do part-time. Most of those businesses are internet-based. Internet businesses, in my opinion, are the best businesses.
Right.
The businesses that have little to no inventory are the best businesses to have, because now you're not having to deal with that. So most internet-based business that are selling virtual products, those are the best, because now you're literally making money in your sleep.
Right.
So those are the best businesses. But we talked about a niche. I think that you got to figure out what you want to do, what you like to do, and just kind of build a business around it as another stream of income. And so I like buying houses, and I'm building a big portfolio of real estate. My why is, my daughter, I just have one daughter. And so I want to make sure that she's good, and she's already good.
Right.
But then also I want to give back to the community and educate the community and make our community, just a much better place. I want to be a great role model. Not to say that I'm perfect or anything, but I want to be a great role model where people can look at me and say, okay, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Right.
And I'd love for real estate to kind of lead the way in building big portfolios. So everything that I do with, I now have a title company, mortgage company.
Right.
Now we're launching the financial services, have had the real estate brokerage for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to take that money that I make and just invest it in real estate.
Right.
Properties.
I hear you.
Got a certain model, which we call the BRRRR method, where I'm buying these properties, I'm renovating these properties, renting these properties out to voucher holders, and then refinancing and getting all my money back. Now I've got an asset that at the end of the day, I don't have any of my own money in it.
You haven't paid.
And I've got at least $100,000 in equity. It's cash flowing, $8, $9, maybe $1,000 a month, and then just repeat the process. That's that final R in the BRRRR method. And I just want to do that one a month, to help the community, to show that it can be done, take care of my family, and that, to try to live a great life, because it's not all about work. You got to have a good time too, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But for me, that's what it's all about. We were military brats, and just kind of grew up all around. I came from Okinawa, Japan to DC, graduated from Ballou High School, which is a whole different story, which is a major culture shock in Southeast DC.
That is a big culture shock. I know Ballou. I played with some guys from Ballou. I know Ballou.
Yeah, man.
It's funny.
But for me, it was a great experience because, you know how we grew up. We grew up, I like to say I grew up in a gated community. Right. I grew up behind the gates of a military installation.
Yeah.
And so we didn't grow up with a silver spoon, in our mouths. We both had to work hard. But the way to riches is through owning your own business.
Right.
It's creating cash flow for yourself, dividends through stock, other streams of income. That's where it's all about that. And so you got to figure out better ways. Now I've got, the financial services that's going to put a whole lot of people in business and give them something, hopefully, to sell. So that's the other thing. And as we're winding down, and I'll just speak first. My another goal of mine, I believe that you build a business to sell and to sell that asset. Sometimes you might want to leave the business or businesses to your children, but you build a business to sell.
So and exit strategy. So you're talking
as an exit strategy.
Gotcha.
And that's primarily what I want to do. I want to sell at least some of these businesses, build them up, and I have an idea of what I need to do, the numbers that I have to build it up to, the multiple that I can sell at. Like most of our businesses that we're in, financial services, real estate, for me, you can sell at somewhere between a 5 and 7 times multiple of, let's just say your net revenue. It's called an EBITDA, but your net revenue is 7 times multiple. So I'm focused on that every day. I meet with my accountants once a month to go through a financial review to see where I am, know where I need to be, let's say 5 years from now, do the estimated multiple, to know what I need to sell the property. I can sell the property for. And so you got to keep your eyes on that.
Right.
And just know why you're in business. Are you in business at the end of the day in terms of an exit strategy to pass that business on to your children?
Right.
Are you in business to then sell your business? Are you in business to get, hire some people to run it, to kind of run the business for you, so that you can keep the business going? And so you just really have to know kind of why you're in business. And that's kind of why I'm in business. And so in terms of exit strategy, what is have you thought about that in terms of exit strategy?
Yeah, can you give me just 1 second? I have.
Okay. So one thing I want to mention while we're
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I actually haven't given that as much thought as I should, to be perfectly honest. I've been really so focused on building and getting us to a certain level that it's been my total and complete focus at this particular time. I know that I'm trying to build these businesses out for a 5 to 7 year time frame, but I haven't really begun to put numbers to what that looks like you have, and started to track what the what that's going to look like 5 to 7 years from now, and what my gates are. My focus has really been on, okay, how big do we need to grow this tax business over the next year to get to the margins that we need in order to move forward and expand that business? What do we need to do with the life insurance, health insurance business to get to over the next year, so that we can get to the next growth cycle in those businesses? So most of what we've been able to do has been really around trying to understand what the multiples are. I think that's a smart thing to do. I think I'm a little lacking in this area, that you should kind of go into it with an idea about what your exit strategy looks like even before you begin. So I clearly understand that theory and how you approach it, but it's one that I still need to execute on.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got to start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And then you start with the end in mind. I want to be able to sell my business for whatever, $10 million, and then turn that $10 million, put that money wherever, into a dividend stock, or into an annuity, some of it, some type of, assets under management, products, whatever that looks like. You've got to start with the end in mind. And then once you know those numbers, now you kind of start with today and start planning out. What do I need to do to today, this week, next month, this year, to start the process of getting myself to the point where I can sell for $10 million. And that's what I think of.
Yeah.
And I want, continued passive income well into the 6 figures every month, where I can work if I want to. If I don't want to, I don't have to work. Mm-hmm. But I've got well into the 6 figures coming in passively, every single month. And that's what I'm working towards, along with assets. And so I think for entrepreneurs like us that have multiple businesses, along the way, we've got to have asset accumulation. We've got to accumulate as many assets. Now, our businesses, they're an asset because there's something that we can sell.
Right.
And what are the other assets? Is it
Right.
money in the stock market? Is it real estate, which is my sweet spot? Is it a combination of all, a mixture, which is probably the right answer?
Yeah, I was about to say.
We just have to understand. So another part of all this is this kind of understanding money.
Yeah.
And how to understand money.
And how it works for you.
Absolutely.
And how it works.
And you've got to do what you feel is comfortable for you. Like a lot of people that are in the stock market, I think they're crazy. But they think I'm crazy dealing with, the 3 T's, toilets, tenants, and termites.
Right.
They think I'm crazy. And so it's whatever you feel comfortable. When I look at the numbers, it's like, if I've got a $400,000 house that's getting 10% appreciation every year, I'm making $40,000.
Yeah.
In the stock market, I've got to put $400,000 into the stock market. And if I'm getting interest at 10%, I'm making the same $40,000. But the difference is in the stock market, I've got to put up $400,000.
Right.
In real estate, I've got to put up either 20% of that $400,000, or in my model, the Bird method, I'm not putting up any money to have an asset at $400,000 that's getting 10%. So for me, that's the difference. Now I've got to deal with property management and, like I said, toilets, termites, and tenants.
Yeah. But there is no easy way to success. I mean, it's a better model because it's one that you're comfortable with. I get it, but there's no easy way. You're either way. You either kind of deal with the ups and downs of the market, or you deal with the 3 T's.
Right.
Pick your poison. But again, doing nothing is a lot more painful.
Yeah, you got to do something. You got to pick something and be great at it and be consistent with it.
Yeah.
And then not to be afraid. And so, look, Doug, this has been wonderful. Hopefully, you guys listening, you've taken some of the information, a nugget or two, and will be able to implement it. I think for me, what I want you guys to know is the road to riches, the road to you getting where you deserve to be and to living out your fullest potential is you've got to have multiple streams of income. You've got to own a business. You've got to sell something, even if it's part-time. Preferably if it's part-time, preferably you can do it from home. Internet businesses are great, but you've got to sell something. Even if you're going door to door, you've got to sell something. And so those are some of the takeaways. And then know what your exit strategy is. Where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and plan it out and educate yourself on what you need to do. What are the numbers? Business, like real estate, it's all in the numbers. You got to understand the numbers. And so that's my advice. And hopefully that's a good takeaway. What advice would you leave them with, Doug?
That life is short. Don't waste time. Be about business of whatever your thing is, whatever you've been created to do. You need to be about that on a daily basis. And you know that in your heart. You know that in your heart. And you're either kind of moving towards that or you're moving away from it. You're not standing still. So for me, don't waste your time. Keep going. If you're listening to this, you're obviously a person who's interested in business, interested in finance. You need to move towards that. You need to move towards what your goals are, and don't waste time because life is short. And go for your best life, man. Try to live your
Absolutely.
best life.
Take action. Take action.
Yeah.
All right, Doug Jones, you started with the dominoes, but now you're here.
There you go. And you started as a clown.
I did. I started as a clown.
Who would have known? Who would have figured that out?
And you know what? I knew it was the beginning. I knew. People making fun of me. I was making a lot of money though.
You were.
But I knew the best was yet to come.
Yeah, same here.
So we'll get together. Thank you for taking time out to do this with me. I really appreciate it. We're going to do lots of business in the future.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to it.
Looking forward to working with you too, man.
All right, man. Hey, so you guys, hey, Doug, before we get out of here, how do people contact you? You got a Instagram or email, or how to get a hold of you?
Redding and Jones, LLC, RJ LLC on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can call us here in Atlanta at 470-268-3949. And as we start to build out these other businesses, we're building our website and social media platform for now. So we'll be sending that information out into the universe here, hopefully in the next 2 months.
And he's in Atlanta, and him and I are going to be working together on the financial services piece. If you guys are interested in that, whether you're here in the DMV or in Atlanta, contact us both. I'll put my Instagram. So my Instagram is up here, Greg Bennett Invest. I will be doing a live webinar on financial services tomorrow. You guys can go to joinbiglife.com. I don't have it up here. Joinbiglife.com. Go there now. Joinbiglife.com. We'll be doing a webinar to give you some information on financial services and maybe to join us. Again, whether you're in Atlanta or you're here in the DMV, we'd love to have you. We'd love to show you how to build wealth. All right, Doug.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Take care, man. All right, everybody. Have a good day.